Ahoy there, ye lost souls and curious wanderers. Ye be sailing now on the seas of mystery, where truth and legend dance upon the tide. The winds whisper secrets, the waves carry echoes of the damned, and the stars above be guiding us through the unknown. But beware, these ain't just any waters, and I ain't just any captain.
With a yo-ho-ho and a pint of rum, beware the seas where the phantoms come. From the depths below to the stars up high, it's seas of mystery, oh give it a try.
I be Captain Jeb, cursed to sail these haunted seas and spectral airwaves till the end of time. I faced the devil's grin, heard the wails of the forsaken, and felt the cold hand of fate drag me beneath the waves. Yet here I be. With a battered map and a belly full of rum, I hunt the myths that refuse to die. Ghost ships, sea beasts, and curses older than time itself.
From the depths below to the stars up high, it's seas of mystery, oh give it a try.
So sharpen your wits, stoke the lantern bright, and steel yourself for what lies ahead. The truth be hiding beneath the waves, and I be bound to seek it till the last bell tolls.
There's monsters, treasures, and whispers of doom, fog-shrouded islands where the ghost lights loom. Captain Jeb's laugh cuts through the fear. Onward, ye scallywags, the truth be near.
Now hoist the anchor, trim the sails, and raise the black. The seas of mystery await.
Beware the seas where the phantoms come. From the depths below to the stars up high, it's seas of mystery, oh give it a try. So hoist the sails and bring your grit. With Captain Jeb there's no quitting it. The seas are wild, the legends untold. Set course for mystery, be brave, be bold. Yo ho ho, let's set sail tonight with Captain Jeb and his ghostly light.
The galley of the Bloody Gull was warm, the lantern light flickering against the wooden walls, casting long shadows that swayed with the roll of the sea. The men were settled in, bellies full, the storm outside making the ship groan like an old man in his sleep. It was the perfect night for a story. And Captain Jeb, well, he knew it.
Aye, me hearties, gather round and listen well, for I've got a tale that'll chill your bones faster than the wind off a nor'easter. It's about a ship, not the Mary Celeste, but one just as doomed. A vessel that never should have been built, and a man who never should have sailed her.
Hoist the sails and bring your grit. With Captain Jeb, there's no quitting it. The seas are wild, the legends untold.
The Vesper was her name, a merchant brig fine and fast, built for speed and cargo but cursed from the moment her keel touched water. Some say it was the wood she was made from, timbers taken from a grove where they'd once hanged a man for piracy. Others say it was the shipwright himself, a man who died right there in the shipyard, crushed beneath her hull before she ever saw open sea. Either way, the sailors whispered about her, and few were willing to take the post. But one man wasn't afraid, Elias Dunn, the watchman. A man with a stare like cold iron, and a will as unshakable as a lighthouse in a storm. He stood the midnight watch, every night, rain or shine. He'd pace the deck, lantern in hand, staring out at the sea, never speaking, never flinching. The crew would wake in the morning and find him standing at the bow, eyes fixed on the horizon, as if waiting for something. Then one night, he was gone.
No splash, no cry, no sign he ever left his post. Just his lantern, still burning, set right there on the railing. The Vesper sailed on, but from that night forward, strange things started happening.
The new watchman, a lad named Matthew Shore, swore he saw Elias standing at the bow on the first night of his watch, staring out to sea just as he always had. But when Matthew called to him, Elias didn't move, didn't even breathe. Then came the storm. A squall blew in sudden and furious, the kind that tears sails from the masts. The crew scrambled, fighting to keep the ship upright, but in the chaos, Matthew was thrown against the railing. The men saw him trying to hold on, saw the fear in his eyes, and then saw a hand reach out of the dark, cold, pale fingers grasping his wrist. And just like that, he was gone. The storm passed, the sea calmed, and there, sitting on the rail where he'd last been, was Elias Dunn's lantern, burning steady as ever.
They say the Vesper never made it to port. She was found weeks later drifting silent in the open sea. No crew, no bodies. Just that lantern, still burning. The ship was taken in, but no man dared set foot aboard her, and she was left to rot in a lonely cove where the tide whispered her name.
The galley was quiet now, each man lost in his own thoughts, eyes flicking to the lantern on the table. Jeb took a slow sip of his drink and let the story settle like mist on the water.
So if ye find yourself alone on deck at night, and the wind's whispering a name ye don't recognize, best keep your hands off the railing. Never know who might be reaching back. Ahoy there, me hearties! Step aboard and find yourself a sturdy rail to lean on. Tonight we sail not upon the usual tides, but into the shadowy waters of the unknown. The sea, she has many a tale to tell. Some are passed down from old sailors with weathered hands and salt-bitten lips. Some are buried in forgotten logbooks, and some linger like whispers on the wind, never truly fading. There are few mysteries of the deep as chilling as the one we chase tonight. A ship fully intact, stocked with provisions, its sails still catching the wind. Yet, not a soul aboard. No bodies, no signs of violence. Just an eerie silence where there should have been laughter, work songs, the rhythmic creak of booted feet on deck. The Mary Celeste, a name forever bound to the legend of ghost ships. Found adrift in 1872, her crew vanished without a trace. No sign of a struggle, no lifeboat to be found. Just a ship wandering the Atlantic alone, as if possessed by the sea itself. A ship that sailed itself. What could have driven Captain Benjamin Briggs, a seasoned sailor, a devoted family man, to abandon his vessel? What unseen terror sent his wife, his young daughter, and every last crew member into the abyss? Some say it was mutiny, that perhaps the crew turned against their captain and fled, leaving the ship behind. Others whisper of pirates preying upon unsuspecting vessels in those deep Atlantic waters. But here's the thing. Nothing was stolen. The ship's cargo, barrels upon barrels of industrial alcohol, remained untouched. And then there are the stranger theories. An explosion that never left a mark. A seaquake that left no sign of destruction. A storm that never came. Some even claim the ocean itself took them, as if something reached up from the depths and swallowed them whole. Others blame something far more unnatural. Ghost ships. Ye've heard the tales. Vessels seen drifting with no living soul aboard, doomed to sail forever under some unknown curse. The Flying Dutchman, forever lost in the storm. The SS Orang Medan, its crew frozen in terror before it burst into flames. And, of course, the Mary Celeste, the ship that sailed itself. Now, I know what some of ye are thinking. Jeb, there's gotta be a rational explanation. And maybe there is. Maybe we can break this down piece by piece and uncover the truth, peeling away the legend like old paint on an aging hull. But here's what I'll ask you to consider. Sometimes the deeper you look, the stranger the truth becomes. Tonight, we're going to dig deep. We'll sail through the cold, hard facts, what we know for certain. We'll examine the theories, the logical, the outlandish, and the ones that make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. And then I'll be talking with an expert, Dr. Eleanor Graves, one of my favorites, a maritime historian and mystery sleuth, about what could have truly happened. And of course, we'll be hearing from you, our listeners. I know many of ye have your own thoughts on the Mary Celeste, and even your own encounters with strange things at sea. Maybe ye've seen a vessel where no vessel should be. Maybe ye felt eyes on you in the dead of night, out on the water, when the wind suddenly dies and the world goes eerily still. So tighten those lines and trim the sails. We've got a mystery to unravel. And remember, my friends, the ocean keeps her secrets well, but every now and then, she lets one slip through the cracks. Let's dive in.
Whoa, the bloody gull sails strong and free. A band of rogues upon the sea. Through storm and fire we stake our claim and carve our names in blood and flame. Where the winds do roar, we sail together, always hungering for more. The bloody gull's our home, our pride, our flame. The name of our ship strikes fear in the game. The bloody gull boys, aye, we're a wild crew. From the stormy seas to the sky so blue. With a heart full of rum and a pocket of gold, we sail through the storm and we're mighty and bold. The stars be our guide. With the wind in our sails, we'll never run and hide. Through the battles we fight and the riches we claim, the bloody gull boys, they all know our name. We're the bloody gull boys, aye, we're a wild crew. With a map to the treasure and a pint of brew. We laugh at the danger, we drink to the chase. We're the bloody gull boys and we own this place. Raise up your glass and drink to the seas, to the men and the ship, to the salt in the breeze. From the bow to the stern, to the cannons that roar, we'll fight, we'll sing, and we'll always want more. The bloody gull's name, know 'tis a crew that'll rise up and claim the treasure, the fortune, and legends untold. The bloody gull boys forever bold. We're the bloody gull boys, aye, we're a wild crew. From the stormy seas to the sky so blue. With a heart full of rum and a pocket of gold, we sail through the storm and we're mighty and bold.
The story of the Mary Celeste is one that has puzzled sailors, historians, and mystery seekers for over 150 years. A ship found adrift, fully intact, its cargo secure, its provisions untouched. And yet, not a single soul aboard. No sign of a struggle, no sign of distress. Just an empty ship, abandoned mid-journey. left to wander the open sea like a ghost. It all began on November 7th, 1872, when the Mary Celeste set sail from New York, bound for Genoa, Italy. A sturdy brigantine built to withstand the perils of the Atlantic, with a seasoned captain at her helm, Benjamin Briggs. Now, Briggs wasn't just any sailor. He was an experienced mariner, deeply respected in his profession. A devout man, disciplined, intelligent, not the kind to take unnecessary risks. His crew consisted of 7 men, hand-picked for their skill and reliability. Alongside them, Briggs brought his wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia. It wasn't uncommon for captains to bring family aboard, especially on longer voyages. For them, the sea was home, just as much as any house on land. And by all accounts, the Mary Celeste was set for a smooth journey across the Atlantic. But then, something happened. Something that turned a routine voyage into one of the greatest maritime mysteries of all time. December 4th, 1872. 1 month after the Mary Celeste left New York, another vessel, the De Gracia, was making its own way across the Atlantic. Captain David Morehouse, a friend of Briggs, spotted a ship drifting aimlessly about 400 miles east of the Azores. At first, there was no reason for alarm. A ship sailing under minimal rigging wasn't unheard of. Maybe she'd taken damage in a storm, or her crew was struggling with some mechanical failure. But as the De Gracia drew closer, something didn't sit right. No one responded to signals. No one appeared on deck. Morehouse sent a boarding party to investigate. What they found has baffled the world ever since. The Mary Celeste was intact, seaworthy even. Her cargo, over 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol, was still in the hold. The crew's belongings remained, their food stores untouched. Even valuables, money, personal effects were left behind. But the people? Gone. No lifeboat, no distress signal, just an empty ship adrift in an open ocean. So what happened? Over the years, theories have ranged from the logical to the outright ludicrous. Some say the crew abandoned ship in a moment of panic. Perhaps an explosion of alcohol fumes spooked them into launching the lifeboat. But if that were the case, why not return when no real damage occurred? Others point to rogue waves, sudden storms, or even a seaquake. Natural disasters that could have taken the crew but left the ship intact. But wouldn't there be some sign of violence? Some indication of struggle against the elements? And then there are the darker possibilities. Mutiny? Piracy? There were no bloodstains, no signs of violence, no reports of attacks in the area. Some claim Captain Briggs lost his mind and led his crew to their doom. But by all accounts, Briggs was a rational, steady man. And then there are the more unusual theories. Tales of strange lights in the sky. A cursed ship. Something unnatural lurking beneath the waves. The official inquiry into the case offered no clear answers. The crew of the De Gracia brought the Mary Celeste into Gibraltar, where an investigation was launched. At first, Morehouse and his men were suspected of foul play, accused of finding the ship, murdering its crew, and trying to claim salvage rights. But there was no proof, no evidence of wrongdoing, and eventually they were cleared. The final ruling? An act of God, a mystery with no solution. The Mary Celeste was eventually refitted and returned to service, but she never truly escaped the shadow of her past. No one wanted to sail her. She changed hands multiple times, her reputation cursed. Eventually, she was deliberately wrecked off the coast of Haiti in an attempt at insurance fraud, but her legend? Oh, that lives on. For over a century, the Mary Celeste has been a staple of maritime lore. A ghost ship without a crew, a mystery without an answer. Theories continue to emerge, some scientific, some supernatural. Which brings us to tonight. To help us sift through fact, fiction, and all the strange waters in between, I'm joined by maritime historian and mystery expert, Dr. Eleanor Graves. But before we bring the good doctor on, let's hear from our fine sponsors. Even the best of us pirates need gold in our coffers. We'll be back right after this.
Do restless spirits haunt your home? Feel the chill of the unknown creep up your spine? Protect your ship or your house with Captain Jeb's warding charms. Handcrafted with sea glass and blessed by the finest sea witch this side of the Atlantic, these charms are guaranteed to keep ghosts, curses, and bad luck at bay. Available now at your local harbor or by carrier pigeon. Ahoy, landlubbers tired of soggy biscuits and watered-down grog? Upgrade your pantry with Kraken's Feast meal kits. From salted cod to rum-spiced cake, we've got everything ye need to dine like a true pirate. Order now and get a free bottle of Kraken's hot sauce. It's hotter than a cannonball fired at close range. Don't just eat, feast.
Now, me hearties, the Mary Celeste ain't just a ghost story. It's a real-life enigma that's baffled historians, sailors, and landlubbers alike for over a century and a half. To help us navigate these murky waters, I am joined by someone who knows a thing or two about history's greatest maritime mysteries. Dr. Eleanor Graves, a historian and expert in the unknown depths of the sea. Dr. Graves, welcome back aboard Seas of Mystery.
Why, thank you, Captain Jeb. The Mary Celeste is one of maritime history's greatest enigmas, and I'm delighted to discuss it. It's a case that combines hard evidence with the enduring allure of the unknown, a recipe for a mystery that refuses to be solved.
That's what keeps me coming back to it. No bodies, no distress signal, no signs of a fight. Just an empty ship, floating along like she had a mind of her own. What makes this case so unique, Doctor?
It's the sheer lack of any definitive answer. Many shipwrecks and disappearances have explanations. Storms, pirates, mechanical failures. But the Mary Celeste defies them all. The ship was in good condition, better than you'd expect for a vessel supposedly abandoned in desperation. She had a full cargo, plenty of provisions, and was still seaworthy when she was found. And yet, whatever happened forced an experienced captain like Benjamin Briggs to make the extraordinary decision to leave his ship. That in itself is rare.
And Captain Briggs wasn't some greenhorn. He knew the risks of the open sea. So for him to abandon ship, that had to be one hell of a reason. Some say it was panic over those barrels of industrial alcohol in the hold. What do you make of that theory?
The alcohol fumes theory is certainly one of the more popular explanations. The Mary Celeste was carrying over 1,700 barrels of denatured alcohol, a highly volatile substance. If some of the barrels leaked, the fumes could have built up inside the hold. Now, there's no evidence of an explosion, but imagine this. Briggs and his crew start smelling strong fumes, maybe even see vapors rising from the cargo hold. They fear sudden combustion, and in their haste, they abandon ship temporarily, perhaps tethering the lifeboat to the Mary Celeste with a rope, intending to return once the danger passes. But what if a sudden squall or a strong gust of wind pushed the ship away? If the rope snapped or came undone, they could have watched helplessly as their ship drifted out of reach, leaving them stranded in an open sea with no way back.
A grim thought, that. Just watching your lifeline slip away into the waves, knowing you've got nowhere to go but down. But something about that explanation doesn't sit right with me. The ship was found in fine condition. If there had been such a strong fear of an explosion, why didn't they see that nothing actually happened and come back aboard?
Precisely. That's the flaw in the theory. If the fumes had dissipated and there was no explosion, why not return? And keep in mind, not all the barrels were full. When the cargo was inspected, 9 barrels were found empty, possibly due to leakage, but that alone wouldn't necessarily have created enough of a hazard to justify total abandonment. So while the alcohol fumes theory is possible, it's not conclusive.
All right, let's get a little wilder. What about mutiny? Some say the crew turned against Briggs, maybe tossed him overboard and then fought amongst themselves.
A plausible idea, except there's no evidence of violence. When the DeGracia's crew boarded the ship, they found no bloodstains, no weapons drawn, no signs of a struggle. A mutiny would have likely left behind some trace of conflict. And Briggs, by all accounts, was well respected by his crew. He wasn't the type to inspire rebellion. If there had been mutiny, we'd expect to find damage, missing cargo, or at the very least, a few clues left behind. But the Mary Celeste was eerily untouched.
All right, so if mutiny's out, what about pirates? Maybe some sea raiders got aboard, snatched the crew, but left the ship behind?
That's another common theory, but again, why leave behind a perfectly good ship and its valuable cargo? Pirates typically looted everything of worth. They wouldn't have left money, food, and cargo untouched. And if they had simply kidnapped the crew, why wouldn't at least one person have left some sign, some message to indicate an attack? It just doesn't add up.
And now we get to the real fun, the supernatural. Some folks believe the Mary Celeste fell victim to something unnatural. Cursed water, sea monsters, or even a force beyond our understanding. Now, I know you're a woman of science, but humor me, Doc. What do ye think of these wilder theories?
I always say, Captain, that legends exist for a reason. People tell stories to explain what they cannot understand. While I personally don't believe in curses or sea monsters, I do believe in the power of fear. Fear can drive people to do the unthinkable. A crew already on edge, perhaps due to strange sights, bad omens, or paranoia, might have convinced themselves that something was coming for them, and fear is a dangerous thing at sea. It can make men see things that aren't there. It can make them jump overboard when no real danger is present.
So you're saying the crew might have scared themselves to death?
In a sense, fear can be just as deadly as any storm or sea creature. Panic spreads fast on a ship. If 1 or 2 men became convinced they were in grave danger, it could have created a chain reaction. Decision made in hysteria, a moment of blind fear, and suddenly an entire crew is gone, lost to the waves. And what's left behind? A ghost ship, perfectly intact, floating silently through the Atlantic, waiting for someone to find her.
Now that is a chilling thought, Doc. Whatever happened to the Mary Celeste, one thing's for sure. She ain't giving up her secrets anytime soon. But we ain't done yet, folks. Stick around, because up next, we're taking calls from you, our listeners. If you've got theories, questions, or even your own ghost ship stories, now's the time to weigh anchor and call in. So keep your wits about ye and don't drift too far into the unknown. Seas of Mystery will be right back.
Ahoy there, me hearties. After a long day of plundering and pillaging, there's no better place to rest your weary bones than the Rusty Cutlass Pub. Located right in the heart of Port Emerald, we've got the finest grog this side of the 7 seas. From our signature Blackbeard's Brew to the Kraken's Kiss Rum Punch, every sip is sure to shiver your timbers.
Best fish stew I've had since sailing the Spanish Main.
And don't forget the treasure trove of meat pies. They're worth their weight in gold.
Hungry for more? Try our world-famous Shipwreck Special, an overflowing platter of roasted meat, salted fish, and fresh baked bread. Perfect for sharing with your crew. And if ye need entertainment, the Rusty Cutlass has it all. Live sea shanties, arm wrestling competitions, and the occasional ghost story from Old Salty Pete.
Beware the phantom of Dead Man's Cove. Har, har, har.
So gather your crew and sail on down to the Rusty Cutlass Pub, where the rum flows free, the food is hearty, and every night feels like a pirate's feast. The Rusty Cutlass Pub open 7 days a week. Just follow the sound of laughter and the glow of lanterns, or visit us online at rustycutlasspub.com. First round's on us if ye mention Captain Jeb.
Welcome back to Seas of Mystery, where the fog is thick, the stories are stranger than fiction, and the truth, well, that's for you to decide. We've been dissecting the Mary Celeste mystery with Dr. Eleanor Graves, and now it's time to hear from you, our listeners. Our first caller is Mike from Florida. Mike, you're on the air. What's on your mind?
Hey, Jeb. Hey, Dr. Graves. Thanks for taking my call. So, I read this theory a while back that said maybe there was a seaquake, like an underwater earthquake, that freaked out the crew. Could that be possible?
The seaquake, huh? That's a good one. You're talking about the kind of underwater rumbling that can send a shudder through a ship's hull, make the ocean go all topsy-turvy, maybe even mess with a sailor's sense of balance. Doc, what do you think? Could a quake down in Davy Jones' locker have sent the crew running?
It's certainly within the realm of possibility. A seaquake could produce a sudden jolt strong enough to alarm the crew. If it was violent enough, it could have damaged the ship's structure, perhaps convincing Briggs and his crew that they were taking on water or in immediate danger of sinking.
Right, and if they panicked, maybe they abandoned ship thinking it was going down. But the ship was fine, right?
Exactly. When the Mary Celeste was found, there was no sign of structural damage. No cracked beams, no hull breaches. However, seaquakes can also create rogue waves, sudden, powerful swells that could have swamped the deck or even swept someone overboard.
And if a big enough wave came crashing down, maybe it knocked a few crewmen into the drink. In the chaos, maybe Briggs ordered everyone into the lifeboat to regroup. But here's the kicker. Why didn't they come back?
That's where the theory falls apart. A seaquake strong enough to spook them should have left behind some physical evidence. Damaged rigging, broken cargo restraints, something. And even if they did abandon ship, why not return once they saw the Mary Celeste still afloat? The ship was found in seaworthy condition with all provisions intact.
So basically it's possible, but not likely.
Precisely.
Still, I like it, Mike. Makes me wonder how many other ghost ships might have been swallowed up by the sea before anyone ever found them. Thanks for the call, mate. Next up, we've got Lydia from Maine. You're on Seas of Mystery, Lydia. What say ye?
Hey, Jeb. Hey, Dr. Graves. So my grandfather always swore he saw the Mary Celeste off the coast when he was a kid. This would have been in the 1920s. He used to tell us that he saw a ship drifting through the fog, looking just like the pictures of the Mary Celeste. But when he called to it, it just disappeared. He believed it was a ghost ship trapped in a time loop or something. Do you think there's any chance that's possible?
Ooh, now that's the kind of story I like. A ghostly vessel sailing the seas long after she should have been at the bottom. Lydia, you've got my attention. Doc, how about you? Think we've got ourselves a Flying Dutchman situation here.
Well, I do love a good ghost ship legend, Jeb. The Mary Celeste certainly inspired many of them. However, I suspect your grandfather may have seen another vessel and left his imagination run wild. Atmospheric conditions, fog, and the play of light on water can all create illusions at sea, what sailors sometimes call a mirage ship.
But why would it look exactly like the Mary Celeste?
Our brains are wired to make sense of the unknown by associating it with something familiar. If your grandfather had heard of the Mary Celeste, his mind might have filled in the gaps. That's not to say he didn't see something. Many unexplained sightings at sea remain just that, unexplained.
Ah, but wouldn't it be something if the Mary Celeste was doomed to sail forever? Lydia, I say keep that story alive. The world needs a few more good ghost tales. Thanks for calling in. All right, next up is James from Texas. James, what have ye got for us?
Okay, hear me out. What if it was a giant squid? You know, like a kraken attack. The crew gets dragged off one by one, no bodies left behind.
Now we're talking. A big old sea beast wrapping its monstrous tentacles around the Mary Celeste and plucking the crew off the deck like grapes. I like it, James.
It's certainly one of the more cinematic theories, but I'm afraid it doesn't hold water. While giant squids do exist, there's no evidence of them attacking ships. And even if one did grab a crew member, how would it explain the complete disappearance of everyone without any sign of struggle or damage to the ship?
Okay, but what if it was smart? What if it knew how to cover its tracks?
You saying the squid was out here cleaning up the deck after dinner? A real polite sea monster, huh?
Exactly.
As entertaining as that would be, the simplest answer is often the right one. No signs of an attack, no eyewitnesses, no evidence of damage. So I'd say we can rule out the Kraken.
Let the man dream, Doc. But James, I do appreciate a good sea monster theory. Keep 'em coming. Thanks for the call. Next up, we've got Rachel from Seattle. Rachel, welcome aboard Seas of Mystery. What's on your mind?
Hey, Jeb. Hey, Dr. Graves. So, I've got a theory that's a little more psychological. I was reading about something called collective panic or mass hysteria, where a group of people can kind of fall into a shared state of fear or irrational thinking. What if something happened on board that made the entire crew and passengers just lose it? Like maybe they thought they were being poisoned by the alcohol fumes, or they saw something they couldn't explain.
Ooh, now that's a new angle. Instead of an outside force like pirates, seaquakes, or the tentacles of a hungry kraken, it's all in their heads. Doc, what do you think? Could the whole crew have just snapped?
That's an interesting psychological perspective, Rachel. And you're right. Mass hysteria is a documented phenomenon. In enclosed, high-stress environments, fear can spread quickly. Sailors were already a superstitious lot, and if something happened to set off a panic, say unusual weather, strange noises, or even an illness affecting cognition, it could have led to a catastrophic decision. Right, and maybe it wasn't even logical. Like, one person freaks out and it spreads. Next thing you know, they're all convinced they have to abandon ship even though there's no real danger.
Sorta like when a herd of cattle stampedes at the first sign of trouble, even if that trouble's just a tumbleweed blowing by.
Exactly. And if Briggs, as captain, was also affected, or if he felt he had to keep control of an already panicking crew, he might have made a decision he wouldn't have under normal circumstances. That could explain why they left behind a seaworthy ship. But the thing is, if it was panic, wouldn't at least one person have realized the mistake and tried to go back? That's where the theory falters. We don't know what happened after they left. If they abandoned ship in a hurry and got caught in a sudden squall or a strong current, they might not have been able to return. But you've raised a very plausible theory. Psychological stress, fear, and misunderstanding could have been just as dangerous as any physical threat.
I tell you, Rachel, I've been around long enough to know, but sometimes the scariest thing ain't the sea. It's the human mind. Good call, mate. Thanks for weighing in. All right, last caller of the night. Jonah from Nova Scotia. Now Nova Scotia's got some good maritime lore, so I hope you've got a theory worthy of the sea. What say ye?
I do, Jeb. I don't deal in nonsense like ghosts or sea monsters, though I won't deny the ocean's got secrets. But I tell you, I think the answer is plain as day. Insurance fraud.
Oh no, now we're getting into real sailor scandal. You think the whole thing was staged?
Damn right I do. Back then, captains and ship owners weren't above making a little extra coin. The Mary Celeste was insured, and if the right people stood to make money from her disappearance, well, who's to say they didn't stage the whole thing?
A very intriguing thought, Jonah. There have been documented cases of ships being deliberately abandoned for fraudulent claims. However, the Mary Celeste's owners didn't profit substantially from her loss. There was no major payout, and while the crew's disappearance remains mysterious, no evidence of a staged evacuation or foul play was found.
Aye, but just 'cause there weren't proof don't mean it didn't happen. Maybe they planned to ditch her, make it look like a tragedy, then meet up later and split the profit. Only something went wrong.
Like a double cross? Or maybe they ran into real trouble after they abandoned ship?
Exactly. Maybe the lifeboat was supposed to get picked up by a Confederate vessel, but instead, they got lost or capsized. No way to tell now, but I put my money on it being a scheme that didn't go as planned.
It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. Though without any solid financial motive, it remains speculative. But Jonah, you bring up an important point. Sometimes the simplest explanation is a human one. Not every mystery needs to be supernatural or dramatic. Sometimes it's just good old-fashioned greed and bad luck.
Spoken like a true scholar of the sea, Doc. Jonah, I like your style. Thanks for bringing a little salty wisdom to the table.
Aye, anytime, Captain.
Well, folks, there ye have it. The Mary Celeste, a ship that sailed herself into legend, leaving behind more questions than answers. From seaquakes to ghostly time loops, from mass hysteria to a greedy scheme gone wrong, we've heard it all tonight. And still, the truth drifts just out of reach, lost somewhere between the waves and the whispers of history. Big thanks to all our callers tonight. Ye keep the conversation rolling like a storm-tossed sea. And of course, a tip of the hat to our brilliant guest, Dr. Eleanor Graves, for lending us her expertise. But don't weigh anchor just yet. We still got letters to read and mysteries to unravel. Stay tuned, me hearties. The night is still young.
Need a spyglass that won't leave you squinting? Try Captain Jeb's spectacular spyglasses, now with anti-fog enchantments. Guaranteed to spot ghost ships, mermaids, and even the nearest tavern. Available at all reputable ports or wherever shady merchants gather. You tired of squinting at treasure maps in the dock? Need something to keep your shipmates from stealing your share of the loot? Try Captain Jeb's phantom lanterns. Guaranteed to light up even the foggiest night and scare off any ghostly interlopers. Available now at all shady ports or by carrier gull.
Nothing like settling in with a few letters from you fine folks. I tell you, I do love a good sea yarn, but sometimes the best stories come from the minds of our listeners. Tonight, we've got 4 letters on the mystery of the Mary Celeste, and I'll be giving my thoughts as we go. So if you were hoping for a quiet read-along, well, you must be new here. First up, we've got a letter from Samuel in Boston. Let's see what Sam's got for us. Dear Captain Jeb, I've been fascinated by the Mary Celeste since I was a kid. I remember reading a book in school that described the ship as a cursed vessel, doomed to wander the seas forever. Of course, as I got older, I realized the truth was likely less dramatic. But one theory I've always found intriguing is the idea that the crew abandoned ship due to an optical illusion. There's a phenomenon called a false horizon where weather conditions and ocean swells can make it look like the water level is higher than it actually is. If the crew thought the ship was sinking, they might have panicked and launched the lifeboat, even though in reality the Mary Celeste was just fine. Oh-ho! Now that's a clever one. I've heard of mirages tricking folks in the desert, but mirages at sea, that's a whole new level of the ocean playing tricks on ya. It would explain why they left so suddenly, why they didn't take more supplies, and why they didn't try to get back. They might have thought they were escaping a doomed ship only to find themselves lost at sea. Just a thought, looking forward to the episode. Best, Samuel. You know, Sam, I actually like this theory a lot. The sea's got a way of messing with a sailor's eyes. Anyone who's been out in heavy fog or strange light knows how quickly your sensoriality can get skewed. Now, whether the crew of the Mary Celeste actually fell for a watery mirage, hard to say. But I like where your head's at, mate. Good letter. All right, next up we got a letter from Eleanor in Charleston. An excellent name, considering our guest tonight. Let's see what she's got to say. Captain Jeb, I wanted to share a personal connection I have to the story of the Mary Celeste. My great-great-grandfather was a sailor in the late 1800s, and family legend has it that he was part of the crew of a ship that spotted the Mary Celeste before it was officially discovered by the De Gracia. According to the story, they saw a ship drifting in the distance but didn't approach because something about it felt wrong. Oh, now we're getting into some eerie waters. Nothing like a sailor's gut feeling to steer clear of trouble. Ain't it funny how sometimes the worst thing in the world ain't what you see, but what you feel? Of course, I have no way of verifying if this story is true, but it always made me wonder how many other ships might have seen the Mary Celeste before the De Gracia and simply passed it by. How long was she out there drifting alone? And was she ever truly alone? Eleanor, you just gave me chills. Was she ever truly alone? That's the kind of question that keeps an old sailor up at night. If other ships did see her and kept their distance, well, maybe they had good reason. Or maybe the Mary Celeste wanted to be found by the right people at the right time. Either way, your family's tale makes me wonder just how many untold pieces of this puzzle are still out there. Lost to time. Another great letter. Now we've got Marco from sunny San Diego weighing in. Let's hear what Marco's got for us. Hey, Jeb. I'm a scuba diver, and one thing that always stood out to me about the Mary Celeste mystery is how much we underestimate the dangers of underwater pressure changes. Some people have suggested that the ship may have experienced an undersea explosion, a buildup of gases from beneath the ocean floor that caused a shockwave strong enough to scare the crew into abandoning ship. There are reports of methane bubbles rising up from the ocean depths, capable of sinking a ship or at least making it unstable. Maybe the Mary Celeste sailed right into one of these and the crew thought they were in imminent danger. You know, I've actually heard of these methane bubble theories before, and I gotta say, I ain't entirely sure what to make of them. A gas bubble big enough to mess with a ship's stability? I mean, I suppose it's possible, but would it be enough to make an entire crew jump ship? That's where I get stuck. I don't know if this theory holds up entirely, but I figured I'd throw it out there. Love the show. Keep doing what you do. Best, Marco. Well, Marco, I appreciate you bringing some deep-sea science into the mix. I ain't convinced that methane bubbles explain the Mary Celeste, but I'll admit, nature's got plenty of surprises we don't fully understand. Thanks for the letter, mate. All right, last letter of the night comes from across the pond. Olivia from London. Let's see what's on her mind. Dear Captain Jeb, I've always thought of the Mary Celeste as a tragic story, but also a poetic one. There's something hauntingly beautiful about a ship sailing on without its crew, carrying only silence and mystery. It makes me wonder how many other ships have done the same, drifting on without us, their stories left untold. Now that is a poetic thought if I've ever heard one. Gives you a whole new way of looking at ghost ships, don't it? Maybe the Mary Celeste wasn't cursed or attacked or caught in a storm. Maybe she simply wanted to be free. Warmest regards, Olivia. Olivia, you've got the soul of a sailor, and I reckon you're right. Maybe some ships just ain't meant to be tamed. Thanks for sending that one in. And to all of you who rode tonight, I appreciate ya. Now let's keep this voyage rolling. We got more mysteries to unravel.
On the docks of Boston town, where the gallows cast its shade, they lined the pirates one by one, and the bloody price was paid. Tom stood tall with a fearless grin, though the noose was round his neck. He said, "Ye can take my life, my lads, but my spirit you'll regret. You'll never shackle the seas, never shackle the seas. For every soul you lay to rest, 10 more rise from the breeze. Ye'll never shackle the seas, no crown can cage the free." Was jeering, the rope was tight, and the trapdoor slammed away. But the wind carried Tom's last words, and they haunt the seas today. They left him swinging in the breeze as a warning to the crew. But now his ghost walks every shore where the salt wind whispers true. You'll never shackle the seas, never shackle the seas. For every soul you lay to rest, 10 more rise from the breeze. Ye'll never shackle the seas, no crown can cage the free. Now sailors claim on moonless nights where the gallows used to stand. A shadow sways with phantom ropes, a ghost of the hangman's hand. And if ye listen close enough, as the tide begins to swell, you'll hear Tom's voice on the howling wind with a tale he'll always tell. You'll never shackle the seas, never shackle the seas. The heart of a pirate beats too wild to bow on bended knees. You'll never shackle the seas, never shackle the seas. For every soul you lay to rest, 10 more rise from the breeze. Ye'll never shackle the seas, no crown can cage the free. So raise your mugs to the ghost of the gallows and all the mates who've gone. They sail with us in every storm, their spirits still live on. For every rope and every noose, their fight will always be a battle cry, a rebel song. You'll never shackle the seas.
Ah, me hearties, we've been through quite a voyage tonight, haven't we? From the cold hard facts to the wildest of theories, we've turned the Mary Celeste over from bow to stern, hoping to glimpse the truth beneath all the legend and speculation. And yet, she remains as elusive as ever. Now, before I weigh in on what I think happened, let's lay it all out one more time. Piece by piece, theory by theory. Maybe you'll come to your own conclusion along the way. Or maybe, like me, you'll find that some mysteries are best left to drift just out of reach. First, the facts we know for certain. The Mary Celeste set sail from New York in 1872, bound for Genoa, Italy. A solid ship, a seasoned Captain Benjamin Briggs, a small but experienced crew, and even his wife and young daughter aboard. Then about a month later, the Disgracia comes upon her, drifting ghost-like in the Atlantic. No battle wounds, no signs of struggle, no reason she couldn't have kept sailing safely. Except for one thing. Not a soul aboard. The ship was intact, the cargo barely disturbed, and while the lifeboat was missing, there was no clear reason why the crew would have abandoned a perfectly seaworthy vessel. So what in the name of old Neptune happened? We've heard some damn fine theories tonight. Let's take them one by one, see which ones hold water and which ones sink faster than a cannon shot hole. The alcohol fumes theory. Popular one, no doubt. The idea here is that the barrels of industrial alcohol started leaking, filling the air below deck with flammable fumes. Maybe there was a small explosion, or just the threat of one, that spooked Captain Briggs and his crew into abandoning ship. They could have taken to the lifeboat, meaning to stay close and return once the danger passed, only to be lost at sea instead. But here's the thing. No scorch marks, no sign of fire, and not all the barrels were even leaking. Now, could the mere smell of alcohol have been enough to send them running? Maybe, but a captain like Briggs wouldn't leave his ship lightly. If this theory's true, something had to make him real sure they were about to go up in flames. Then there's the idea of a seaquake, an underwater earthquake that might have rocked the Mary Celeste just enough to make the crew think she was doomed. Imagine the whole ship lurching, water splashing in from nowhere, masts shaking like the hands of a nervous gambler. If the quake was strong enough, it might have seemed like the ship was about to sink, pushing them to flee in panic. And let's not forget rogue waves, those freak walls of water that can rise up out of nowhere. If one of them hit hard enough, it could have washed a few men overboard, maybe even damaged the lifeboat davits, convincing Briggs to cut his losses and take the crew on to the remaining boat. But here's the rub. No damage on the Mary Celeste suggests she took a major hit. And while seaquakes are a real phenomenon, they don't usually send experienced sailors running for the lifeboats. I won't toss this theory overboard just yet, but it don't sit quite right in me gut. Now, some folks say mutiny, that the crew turned on Briggs, took the lifeboat, and left the ship behind. Others reckon pirates got him. But let's think this through. Mutinies don't tend to happen without a scrap. If the crew revolted, where's the fight? Where's the blood, the struggle, the sign of a battle? And as for pirates, well, pirates want loot. They don't leave behind perfectly good cargo. Nah, mates, mutiny and piracy don't explain why the ship was left so neatly, so untouched, like the crew just disappeared. And here's where the sea starts whispering its oldest secrets. Was it ghosts, a time slip, the call of something unnatural from the depths? Some say ships have spirits of their own, that the Mary Celeste wanted to sail alone. Some believe she drifted through a rift in time, lost her crew somewhere in the fog of history, only to return as an empty shell. Now I know what the skeptics will say. Jeb, there ain't no such thing as ghost ships, no curses, no vanishing into thin air. But let me tell ya, I've seen strange things on the water. Lights where there should be none. Ships where no ships should be. And the sea, well, the sea don't give up all her secrets easy. So what do I think happened to the Mary Celeste? I reckon it was something sudden, something urgent, something that made an experienced captain take his family, his crew, and set off into the unknown in a lifeboat. Whether it was fear of a fire, a freak wave, or a trick of the mind that made him think they were sinking, we may never know. But here's what I do know. She kept sailing. Even without her crew, the Mary Celeste stayed upright, her sails full, her course uncertain. And there's something about that, ain't there? A ship that refused to die, just drifting on, carrying the ghosts of her unanswered questions. Maybe that's why her legend lasts. Not just because of the mystery, but because of the idea. This notion that the Mary Celeste wasn't done with the sea. That even without her crew, she had a story left to tell. So what do ye think, me hearties? Was it a scientific miscalculation? A disaster? Or did the Mary Celeste slip through the cracks of reality itself? Maybe we'll never know for sure. But if you ever find yourself out on the open water, and the night is still, and the wind just right, keep an eye on the horizon. You might just see her, still sailing, still waiting for someone to uncover the truth.
Do restless spirits haunt your home? Feel the chill of the unknown creep up your spine? Protect your ship or your house with Captain Jeb's warding charms. Handcrafted with sea glass and blessed by the finest sea witch this side of the Atlantic, these charms are guaranteed to keep ghosts, curses, and bad luck at bay. Available now at your local harbor or by carrier pigeon. Ahoy, landlubbers tired of soggy biscuits and watered-down grog. Upgrade your pantry with Kraken's Feast meal kits. From salted cod to rum spiced cake, we've got everything ye need to dine like a true pirate. Order now and get a free bottle of Kraken's hot sauce. It's hotter than a cannonball fired at close range. Don't just eat, feast. Are ye tired of squinting at treasure maps in the dock? Need something to keep your shipmates from stealing your share of the loot? Try Captain Jeb's Phantom Lanterns, guaranteed to light up even the foggiest night and scare off any ghostly interlopers. Available now at all shady ports or by carrier gull.
The night was thick with the scent of salt and smoke. The crew of the Bloody Gulls sat huddled around the galley's long table, the lantern light dancing in their eyes as the last of their meal was scraped from wooden plates. Outside, the wind howled through the rigging, but inside, the only storm brewing was the one in Old Red Smog as he swallowed the last of his drink, a knowing glint in his eye.
Now then, lads, I gave ye a tale before, but I've got another. A tale darker still. One a ship that don't just vanish into the mist, but one that calls to those fool enough to listen. She was called the Black Worm. A brig with sails black as a raven's wing and a hull scarred like an old fighter's knuckles. No one knew where she was built nor who first sailed her, but the stories, they all agreed on one thing. She weren't a ship meant for men. The first tale of her comes from a whaler out of Reykjavik, the Freya's Grace. She was sailing near the Faroe Islands when the lookout spotted a ship sitting dead in the water, black against the twilight, no flags, no crew in sight. But the Freya's Grace, foolish bastards, hailed her anyway. No reply, but as they came closer, they heard it.
Heard what exactly?
A voice, not from the ship, but from the water, calling their names one by one.
Ah, wind plays tricks on the ears. That ain't so strange.
Aye, wind does play tricks, but wind don't call out the names of men who ain't never been there before. Wind don't know the name of your mother, nor whisper the last words she ever said to ye. The Freya's Grace got close enough to see the deck. No crew, no sign of life, just an open hatch leading below. The captain, Johan Eriksson, sent 3 men over to search. They went below deck and never came back.
And what about the rest of the Freya's Grace?
Captain Eriksson waited an hour, then 2. He ordered a man to toss a rope down the hatch to haul his crew back up if need be. But the moment that rope went down, it went taut like something grabbed hold. They pulled and pulled. And then, out of the darkness, something pulled back. The rope burned through their hands. They cut it loose, and whatever had hold of it, it sank back into the Black Worm. The deck went silent, the wind stopped, and the last thing they heard was laughter. Not the laughter of men, not the kind that warms your belly after too much rum. No, It was the sound of something waiting, amused, as if it had already won. Erickson made the right call, cut ties and run. The Freya's Grace fled as fast as the wind would take her. But that night, the crew heard footsteps on the deck, heavy, wet footsteps. But when they looked, there weren't a soul to be found. Oh, what of the Black Worm? She's still out there, lad. Some say she only appears to ships who stray too close to deep waters where no bottom's ever been found. Some say she's the ferry for lost souls, damned to walk her deck forever. And some whisper that she's still collecting.
The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The fire burned low, the light casting long, thin shadows that seemed to move just a little too much. Outside, the wind picked up and the ship groaned once more. And for a brief, fleeting moment, it sounded almost like laughter.
Hey, the sea don't take lightly to debts unpaid. Oh, the bloody gull was swift and bold, cut through waves like a blade through gold. We took our share, we drank our fill, sailed where the sea bent to our will. But the ocean ain't a kindly lass, she'll call ye home, she'll claim ye fast. And on a night of rage and roar, she whispered what I can't ignore. Now I sail on haunted tides, a captain lost where the dead reside. A deal was struck, the sea took hold, I gave my soul, I lost my gold. Forever bound I tell this tale, on cursed waves where the damned set sail. Where the damned set sail. The storm it howled, the mast did groan, the crew screamed out the night unknown. I begged the sea to spare their breath, she laughed and cursed me worse than death. Now they live on, their names in song, but I be trapped where time runs long. No sunrise bright, no shore in view, just endless waves in spectral blue. Now I sail on haunted tides, a captain lost where the dead reside. A deal was struck, the sea took hold, I gave my soul, I lost my gold. Forever bound I tell this tale, on cursed waves where the damned set sail. Seekers, hear me well, you chase the gleam, you ride the swell, but gold will sink you, weigh you down, and freedom's price, well, look around. Now I sail on haunted tides, a captain lost where the dead reside. A deal was struck, the sea took hold, I gave my soul, I lost my gold. Forever bound I tell this tale, on cursed waves where the damned set sail. On cursed waves where the damned set sail. So choose ye well, ye men so bold, what's worth more, your soul or gold?
And so, me hearties, the Mary Celeste sails on. Not just in the pages of history, but in our imaginations, in the whispers of the wind through the rigging, and the shadows that drift upon the water when the moon is high. She remains an eternal mystery upon the waves, an unanswered question that beckons us to keep searching, keep wondering, keep listening to the stories the sea has yet to tell. The ocean is vast, and her secrets are endless. This was but one of them, lost to time, but not forgotten. The Mary Celeste has become more than a ship. She's become a legend, a warning, a riddle left unanswered by history itself. And maybe, just maybe, that's the way it's meant to be. But me crew, the mysteries don't end here. Oh no, the sea's got plenty more riddles waiting for us beyond the horizon. And next time we set sail into another vanishing act, one even the US Navy couldn't explain. The year was 1918. USS Cyclops, a massive collier ship, set off from Barbados, bound for Baltimore. 309 souls aboard, a seasoned captain, a routine voyage. And yet, she disappeared without a trace. No distress signal, no wreckage, no survivors. Just gone. Was it sabotage? A German spy plot? A mutiny? Or, dare I say it, was it something unnatural? Some say she fell victim to the infamous Bermuda Triangle. Others say she was swallowed by the deep for reasons we may never understand. So sharpen your senses, keep your eyes on the horizon, and join me next time as we chart a course into the unknown. We'll speak with an expert, comb through the facts, and maybe, just maybe, get one step closer to uncovering the truth. Until then, me hearties, keep your lanterns lit and your compasses true. And if ye find yourself sailing under a quiet sky, in waters that feel just a little too still, listen close. The sea's always talking. The question is, are we listening?